So the 2020 NFL offseason may just go down in the history books as both the strangest offseason in NFL history with everything happening in our world right now and one of the most action-packed offseasons in NFL history. The free agency and trade period saw significant shifts in the league's framework, with players like Tom Brady and DeAndre Hopkins ending up on new teams by the end of it. However, while it looks like the bulk of the offseason moves have already come and gone, that doesn't mean that it's over and done with by any means whatsoever. The NFL trade deadline is still months away, and with that being said, there are some players on this list that are yet to be shipped off to their new home. So today I want to go through and cover 5 NFL players who will be traded from their current team sometime soon and where they could actually end up. But before we get into that, I want to very quickly take a second to mention that only a small percentage of the people who watch my videos are actually subscribed. So if you end up enjoying this video, please do consider subscribing. And with that being said, let's get started. Kicking this video off, we're heading down south to Jacksonville, Florida, where we will be covering the ongoing tumultuous relationship between defensive end Yannick Ngakoue and the Jaguars front office. Ngakoue was one of the main fixtures of the Jaguars' short-lived Jacksonville defense that managed to make it to the AFC Championship back in 2017. Since then, however, things haven't been all too great in Jacksonville. The team has really taken a free fall from those Jacksonville days, and, well, they now stand as one of the league's worst teams, all happening within the span of just 2 years. The Jaguars are shedding players left and right, in large part due to their reportedly awful culture, along with the team's overall issues with the mismanagement of imperative issues such as player health and safety. And because of this experience with the Jaguars, Ngakoue is quoted saying that one of his goals is to find his way to a team with a good culture. And this is one of the many reasons why the Seattle Seahawks are a perfect landing spot for Yannick Ngakoue. On the other side of the coin, with Jadeveon Clowney having just turned down the offer the Seahawks offered him, it's time for them to try and move away from him and start looking for another option. Ngakoue has more sacks in 4 years than Clowney has in 6, and let's be honest for a second, Clowney is incredibly overrated, having never put up double-digit sacks in his entire career, and is definitely living up to that clown part of his last name for thinking that he is going to get what he's looking for on the market. Clowney turning down the Seahawks' long-term offer was truly a blessing in disguise for the Seahawks. Rambling tangent aside though, given everything that's happened up until this point, all the tweets and the heated exchange with Jaguars co-owner Tony Khan, it's safe to say that this bridge is officially burned. He needs to be traded, and Seattle is a perfect fit for Ngakoue. Ngakoue would be a plug-and-play guy at that defensive end position and help further bolster Pete Carroll's defensive unit. And again, the Seahawks provide him with that culture that he is desperately looking for, along with a very good chance of making it to the big game. Given the Seahawks offer the right price, which would likely be a pick somewhere within the range of the first or second round, Yannick Ngakoue could help bolster that defensive line for years to come. Heading up north to New York City, the next prospective trade we will be covering in this video has to do with New York Jets safety Jamal Adams. Now, it's safe to say that the Jets have been a dumpster fire for the grand majority of the 21st century, with winning seasons coming far and few between. And with the recent hiring of Adam Gase, whose name is synonymous with poor coaching and general mismanagement of NFL teams, it's really pretty much safe to say that the Jets will not be leaving their pit of misery anytime soon. However, even in times of misery, Jets fans still kind of have a reason to tune in every Sunday with Jamal Adams captaining the team's defense. Now, he may not have the greatest of supporting casts, and the defense overall may be relatively mediocre as a result, but Jamal Adams is one of the league's premier safeties, as well as being one of the league's premier defensive players just in general. However, Jets fans may not have this to look forward to for much longer, as Jamal Adams has officially declared his desire to enter a new chapter in his life. On June 18th, Jamal Adams was quoted in a reply to an Instagram comment where he said, "Maybe it's time to move on." And just days later, he reached out to his agent, who subsequently reached out to Jets management to express his client's desire to be traded away from the team. This comes after months of contract disputes, of which Jamal Adams says the Jets have failed to address in a proper manner, along with a relationship that has really never been very stable. And with all that being said, this begs to question, where will Jamal Adams end up when all is said and done? Well, we can narrow the answer to this question down to a pool of 7 teams. A pool which consists of the Ravens, Cowboys, Texans, Chiefs, Eagles, 49ers, and Seahawks, as Jamal Adams has made it very clear that he is interested in playing for any one of these teams in particular. And of all these teams, the Cowboys are definitely the most likely option moving forward. Jerry Jones is very interested in Jamal Adams and has made that point very clear since the beginning of Adams' disputes with the Jets. The addition of Jamal Adams would pay major dividends for a Cowboys defense which needs some serious repairs following the year's NFL offseason. Now, obviously, the Jets' asking price would not be cheap in all likelihood, with Jamal Adams being one of the top safeties in the game, but I do believe that of all the teams, the Cowboys will be the most likely one ending up playing suitor for Jamal Adams. Heading back down to Jacksonville, the next player we will be covering on this list is Jaguars running back Leonard Fournette. And man, the Jaguars locker room must simply be in complete shambles with all of these players wanting out. It is ridiculous. However, the case we're about to review when it comes to Leonard Fournette has really played out in a way that's unlike the likes of Ngakoue, as Fournette didn't necessarily want out. Rather, he was wanted out. This all started after an interview with ESPN where he was asked about the idea of the Jaguars bringing Cam Newton in, and he made it very clear that he would prefer to have Cam over the current Jaguars quarterback Gardner Minshew, which, a lesson in locker room politics, not a great decision to make. Following this, the Jaguars front office made it clear that they were done with Fournette and his antics and were ready to ship him out given that their needs are met. This whole storyline, though, has seemingly fizzled out over time, as no one is really talking about it anymore, given the fact that nothing has really materialized. The bridge is most definitely burnt, though. You can't just come out and say you're open to trading a player without having that bridge be burnt as a result. And with that being said, I think that the Miami Dolphins would be the perfect landing spot for Leonard Fournette. With Brian Flores looking to take major leaps and bounds in his second year as the team's head coach, his team could definitely use a little bit of help with the running back department in an effort to lessen the load that would be burdened by Tua Tagovailoa within his first year. However, with there reportedly not being any significant offers up until this point, the Jaguars may need to dial back on their asking price to get Fournette out of Jacksonville. Fournette, while being a solid running back, hasn't necessarily lived up to the sky-high expectations people had for him coming out of LSU, at least up until this point. It may be hard to get a first-rounder for Fournette. It could happen. I'm not going to deny it won't. Maybe it happens through the form of a conditional pick based on Fournette's performance in Miami, but I think that a second and third rounder is definitely the most likely option. It'll be very interesting to see where things go from here, whether or not the Jaguars front office will try and attempt to sweep this under the rug or not. If they can't deal Fournette, it should be very interesting. Our next player, who may end up being traded when all is said and done, currently resides in Indianapolis, Indiana, where he spent the duration of the 2019 NFL season filling in as the team's starting quarterback after the shocking retirement of Andrew Luck. We're of course talking about Jacoby Brissett. The Colts made some serious moves in this year's offseason in signing free agent quarterback Phillip Rivers and drafting Washington Huskies quarterback Jacob Brissett that are really telling of the general ideas surrounding that facility. They simply don't see a future with Jacoby Brissett. And this leaves an opening for Jacoby Brissett to be traded. Now, this in no way would be one of those blockbuster trades that would land the Colts a future first rounder or anything crazy like that. Brissett is a talented quarterback, but he's not a surefire starting quarterback and could very well be regulated to a backup role once again. A team like the Titans or Jets could come in and scoop up Jacoby Brissett to create a better sense of reliability at that backup quarterback position. This trade and result would likely land the Colts a 4th or 5th round pick and would as well relieve the team of their duties to pay out upwards of $9 million. With Rivers set to start for the Colts in 2020 and Jacob Brissett having been taken by the Colts in the 2020 NFL Draft, it simply does not make sense to keep Jacoby Brissett around any longer. And heading down to South Florida, the last player that should be traded is Miami Dolphins quarterback Josh Rosen. Josh Rosen's NFL career thus far has been an absolute mess, where he's really been given no true chance to succeed at any point. And with the Dolphins taking Tua Tagovailoa 5th overall, Rosen doesn't really stand a chance to ever reclaim that starting role in Miami. Not that he should want to, though. Josh Rosen, while he does have potential, is simply not ready to start at the NFL level, which is why trading him to the Steelers for a 4th, 5th, or maybe even a 6th round pick would be a great step moving forward for both parties. The Dolphins would have some extra late round ammo after dealing off a player that's only really taking up a roster spot at this point, and the Steelers would have a player with some serious potential that could sit behind Ben Roethlisberger for a few years and possibly even take the reins once Roethlisberger retires. That said, if given a chance to sit and learn behind a veteran quarterback, I think Josh Rosen could really begin to turn things around, and Pittsburgh would be a perfect place to provide him with that opportunity. That said, that will be enough to wrap this video up, but before I go, let me ask you, where do you think these NFL players will end up being traded?